Hey everyone, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Keisha and today I'm going to be talking about all the books that I hope to read in the month of December. It should come as no surprise that with it being December and the Christmas season, I'm actually going to be reading a lot of Christmas books this month. I'm pretty sure that all of the books I have on my list are just Christmas books. So if that's not your thing, this may not be the TBR for you, but if it is your thing, I have a stack of books here that I'm so excited to read this Christmas. The first book on my stack is How Winston Delivered Christmas, an Advent story in 24 and a half chapters by Alex T. Smith. So this is an Advent story and I'm really excited to read this with my husband Will. It is a kid's book and I think I'm probably a little bit more excited about it than he is, but we've never done anything Advent together before. We've never done an Advent calendar or anything like that. And I thought it would be really fun to do this story. This is a beautiful book and I'm really excited to get into it and see all the different beautiful illustrations that I've seen throughout. And this is the story of Winston, who is this little mouse here on the cover, and he finds this letter that did not make it to the mailbox, and it's a letter to Santa. So Winston makes it his mission and his good deed for the year to deliver this letter to Santa himself. So this just takes place over the course of 24 and a half days leading up to Christmas as Winston is delivering the story. So the way this works out is on December 1st, you read the first part of the story, which is just a couple of pages long. And then at the end of each day, there's also an activity you can do. So this one says, write a letter to Santa Claus. And so there's a different activity after each day. Like I said, there a couple are like make a Winston finger puppet. Let's see if I can find another one. This one is make a Christmas tree paper chain card. So there's all kinds of different ones. I think there's like baking ones in here too. But it just seems super fun, and I don't know that we'll actually do all of the different days crafts and things, but I still think it would be really fun to read and maybe even share with our kids someday. Next, I have The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand, and this has been on every Christmas TBR for the last 2 or 3 years because I've had this book, I've heard everybody rave about this book, and every year it is my last priority to read. I've started the book a couple of times and I have not finished it. And it's not because I wasn't enjoying it. It's just because it's always the last book that I read. So I don't know, maybe it should be the first that I read this year. But this story is a Scrooge retelling or a Christmas Carol retelling. So it follows Holly Chase. And Holly Chase 5 years ago was visited by the 3 ghosts of Christmas. And so now she didn't listen to the 3 ghosts that tried to warn her. She died, and now she is a ghost of Christmas past and she is working for Project Scrooge. And they are trying to kind of do the same thing where they're trying to turn these Scrooge's lives around. So Holly's pretty miserable. She's stuck at 17 and her family is going on living without her. And she's just stuck where she's at. But this year will be different. I'm really excited to read this book. Like I said, I've heard lots of good things about it. I've never heard anything bad about it. It is a young adult book, Christmas Carol retelling. It sounds really good, really magical, so I'm really excited to hopefully finally get to this one this year. Another book on my list this year is 10 Blind Dates by Ashley Elston. I've heard about this book before, but this year is the first year it really piqued my interest, and I'm actually going to be buddy reading this with Lauren from Lauren Love Read, so I'm really excited to be doing another buddy read with Lauren. And this book is about Sophie. And Sophie has an overprotective family and she cannot wait to get away from them for Christmas and spend it with her boyfriend Griffin. Little does she know, Griffin wants a little freedom himself and he breaks up with her. So now Sophie is stuck with her family for Christmas, and her grandmother actually comes up with an idea that each of her family members is going to set her up with a blind date. So she's going to go on 10 blind dates for Christmas, but then Griffin shows back up and decides that he still wants Sophie. So who is she going to choose? One of the 10 blind dates or Griffin? We'll see. Another book on my list is Kringle by Tony Abbott. I picked this book up earlier this year kind of on a whim. I hadn't really heard much about it, but I saw it at a used bookstore. It was in brand new condition. It's a cute Christmas middle grade, so I knew I had to pick it up. This one is going to be a little bit more of a fantasy story, and so it involves a boy named Kringle, and Kringle has lived a really good life until his 12th Christmas when goblins attack his home and cast him out into the wilderness. So now he's kind of having to fend for himself, and he is in this strange and frightening world full of elves, pirates, and the ancient magic of time. So I can tell this is really going to be steeped in fantasy and kind of fairy tale. But Kringle ends up realizing that he has a destiny to fulfill, and that even a lone boy can wield the power to change the world forever. So this sounds super cute. I'm hoping it's going to be a good one to read this Christmas. It definitely sounds magical. Next up, I have Always in December by Emily Stone. I'm not gonna lie, I totally picked this up because it gave me One Day in December vibes by Josie Silver, and that is one of my favorite Christmas books. So I'm actually hopefully gonna be buddy reading this one with Elizabeth from Ponytails and Paperbacks. So I'm really excited to get to this one. It's probably my most anticipated Christmas read this year. So this story follows our main character, Josie, and Josie mails a letter to her parents, whom she lost on Christmas many years ago, every December. But this year, she ends up colliding with Max on her trip to the mailbox. And her and Max end up spending Christmas together, and they find out that they both kind of have similar feelings about Christmas. It's just kind of not the best time of year for them like it seems to be for everybody else. So they spend the holiday season together, and Josie thinks that this might be the start of something special, but then Max ends up disappearing without saying goodbye. Over the course of the next year, Josie and Max end up meeting at multiple different random places throughout the year because, as it would have it, fate intervenes and always brings them back together, and Max starts to realize that maybe he has as many reasons to stay with Josie as he thought he had to leave. So this just sounds super cute, and it sounds like it might be heartbreaking too. I don't know. I'm really excited about it, and I'm hoping that I love this one and that it's a new Christmas favorite. The next two books that I have on my list are the sequels to Dash and Lily's Book of Dares by Rachel Cohen and David Levithan. That was one of my favorite Christmas books that I read a couple of years ago, and I also really like the Netflix adaptation, which I watched last year and will probably watch again this year. If you haven't read the book or seen the show, I highly recommend it. It's super cute. It's basically a young couple that falls in love at a bookstore, and it's just the sweetest thing ever. So this year, I would like to read The 12 Days of Dash and Lily, which is book 2, and then Mind the Gap, Dash and Lily, which is book 3. So I believe this one follows Dash and Lily after a year later, after like the first book takes place, I think. And it's the 12 days leading up to Christmas. And if you know anything about Lily from the first book, which this isn't a spoiler, Lily loves Christmas, but this year Christmas is has a little bit of a damper on it. I'm not going to say any spoilers regarding that, but the 12 days leading up to Christmas, they're trying to get Lily back in the Christmas spirit. And then Mind the Gap, Dash and Lily sees Dash and Lily in a long distance relationship now, as they are in two different places in their lives and trying to figure out if they are still going to end up working out in the long run. So I'm excited to read these two. I don't think they'll be as good as the first one. I've kind of heard that the first one is the best, but I'm still excited to get back into this world of Dash and Lily because I think they are super cute. The next book that I have is Last Christmas in Paris, a novel of World War I by Hazel Gaynor and Heather Webb. I've had this book on my shelf for a couple of years too. This is a World War I historical fiction Christmas story that is written in letters. I don't think the whole thing is written in letters, but it does have letters throughout. And I love the Guernsey Literary and Potato Peel Pie Society, which was completely written in letters. So I knew I wanted to check this book out. I'm going to go ahead and read the synopsis on the back because I sometimes feel like with historical fiction, it's better to read the synopsis because it kind of pulls you in and gets you more interested. When war pulled them apart, their words brought them together. Christmas time in Paris. Thomas Harding travels to the City of Lights, a packet of cherished letters in hand. Letters that tell a story of love and loss, friendship and family, and the innocent hopes of a generation devastated by war. As he reads the letters one more time, Tom is transported back to 1914 and the sunlit August day when Evie Elliott waves goodbye to him and her brother Will as they head to the Western Front. All believe the war will be over by Christmas when the trio plan to reunite and celebrate the holiday among the romantic cafes of Paris. But it is not to be. As months slip into years, Tom's and Evie's lives become bound together by the letters and telegrams, notes and stories that travel between them from the front line in France to a quiet suburb of London. But as their friendship flourishes, there is far more than words held between the pages of Tom's and Evie's letters. Now, decades later, Thomas finds himself once again in his beloved Paris, determined to fulfill the last promise and to lay to rest the ghosts of the past. But one final letter is waiting for him. So that sounds really good and gripping and heart-wrenching and possibly heartbreaking too. I don't know. It just sounds like it's going to be really good. It's been a while since I've read historical fiction, So I'm hoping that I can get into this one and that it will be a new favorite. Next couple books I have are A Boy Called Christmas by Matt Haig, and then the second book, which is The Girl Who Saved Christmas by Matt Haig. So I read A Boy Called Christmas last year, and it was really cute. I think it's good for like a younger middle grade audience. It does have some illustrations throughout that are really cute and whimsical. I do think this is a great book, like I said, for younger children, and it follows 11-year-old Nicholas, nicknamed Christmas, and he has received only one toy in his life, a doll carved out of a turnip. But he's happy with his turnip doll and the simple life he leads in a cottage with his father. They are very poor. They live out in the wilderness. One day his father gets called to go and do something that Nicholas doesn't know about, and he ends up going missing and doesn't come back. And Nicholas's, I think it's his aunt, which she is the devil. I cannot stand that woman in this book. She is almost the equivalent to me of, in Harry Potter, Umbridge. Like, cannot. So anyways, other than that, it's a great book, and Nicholas goes searching for his dad, and he finds out that there is a world called Elfhelm that his dad was actually trying to find. And Nicholas is set on trying to find his father, but he also finds out that he has to help the people of Elfhelm as well because they have some problems of their own. So that is what the story follows, and I'm not really sure about the second book because I haven't read it yet, but this one is The Girl Who Saved Christmas, and I think she's probably going to overlap a little bit with Nicholas, but this is just continuing on the story. It says that Amelia Wishart was the first child ever to receive a Christmas present, and it was her Christmas spirit that gave Santa the extra boost of magic he needed to make his first trip around the world. But now Amelia's in trouble. So I think this is one of those situations where the magic of Christmas is at an all-time low, and Amelia is needed to save it. So she goes out, or they, like, maybe Santa goes out and tries to find Amelia to help bring back the magic of Christmas. I don't know. But I think these are really cute stories. Matt Haig has a way with words, so I'm really excited to reread this one because I'm actually going to be reading this with my middle grade book club that I host. They picked this year for Christmas, and this actually has a Netflix adaptation now. I don't know when the movie's coming out. I think it's the beginning of December or end of November, which right now it is the end of November, so it may already be out. But we're going to watch it with the book club, and then I'm going to go ahead and read The Girl Who Saved Christmas too, hopefully this year as well. And the last book that I hope to read this Christmas season is Nutcracker by Susan Adrian. I've seen this a few different places, and this just sounds like the most adorable book. It is a Christmas middle grade, and it is a Nutcracker retelling. So Georgie has waited for this moment her whole life, to dance the part of Clara in the Nutcracker ballet. And when she finally gets the part, it's like a dream come true, literally. Every time Georgie dances with the Nutcracker doll, she leaves the ballet studio and enters a world where everything around her, the old wooden furniture, the Christmas tree, the carefully wrapped presents, is larger than life. It's so magical, Georgie can't wait to return again and again. Then the Nutcracker's magic seeps into the real world, putting Georgie's friend in danger. Everything is falling apart, and it's almost Christmas. Can Georgie save her friend, the Nutcracker, and most of all, herself? So this just sounds super cute. It's really short, and I thought it just sounded really good for this Christmas season. I don't think I've actually even read the Nutcracker before. I think the Nutcracker is like an original story. It has to be. It had to have come from somewhere, but I've never read that. I've seen Barbie, the Nutcracker movie, which I loved so much when I was little, and that is what made me fall in love with the Nutcracker. So I'm excited to read this one and see if this one will kind of rekindle that love as well. Okay, y'all, that is my December TBR. I hope to get to all of these books this year. I'm not sure if I will. I think every year I put a lot of books on my list and I set myself up basically for failure because I never read all of them, but there's just so many sweet, wholesome, cozy Christmas books out there, so hopefully I'll get to the majority of these this year. Let me know down in the comments if you've read any of these before and which ones I should prioritize, and also let me know what books you plan on reading this Christmas season, or let me know what your favorite Christmas book is. Maybe I need to add that to my list as well. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye, friends!